Halo 3, the game that arguably some out there have said is the best Halo game to date in this franchise. However, to me, I am going to take it in a different direction today and tell you all that in my personal opinion, Halo 3 is the most fun Halo game instead of the best. I'm going to talk about why that is the case here in this video as we run through my review and commentary of my first time playing through Halo 3. To this day, for me, Halo 3 might have been the first Halo game that I ever set my eyes upon, at least from an advertisement perspective. This game came out around the time in 2007 where I was at a very young age when I was beginning to be introduced more to the world around me in entertainment. I started going to my local Blockbusters much more and seeing that world before my very eyes, and I saw so much within it at the time, and one of the games that I saw displayed at my local Blockbuster arcade section was in fact Halo 3. Here we are now 16 to 17 years later, and I have finally gotten the chance to play it all for the first time, and I have many thoughts about this game with regards to the overall franchise that I have now played almost every game of. The campaign for me in this game finds itself in a unique position because of a very particular reason with regards to how it handles story and lore, but also action and fun moments. When it comes to that action gameplay, it feels like Halo 3 took the approach of focusing much more on that as opposed to the story and the lore. In fairness, there's not much more to establish within the story of this game, given it is the end point of the first two games in Halo CE and Halo 2. It is basically the final stretch for humanity to stop the Prophets from activating the Halo rings while Master Chief and humanity find a way to stop them, but also the Flood and Gravemind from infesting every single thing in their way. Some of my favorite parts of this campaign are between Chief and the Arbiter as they worked together to stop the Prophets and the Flood. The story very much focuses on the notion that everyone has to come together to fight against the Prophets, who want to activate this Halo ring, who seemingly everybody hates, even the Flood themselves, which you team up with at some point during the fight. I also liked that it gave some attention to the obvious relationship between Chief and Cortana that we knew it was building up from each game. Cortana is not in the game that much, but I would still feel her presence heavily within the storyline. I will say one of my least favorite aspects of this game, and even the older Halo games as a whole, is how they treat Chief. I don't personally like the fact that they treat him as a silent character, but yet they will still give him just a few things to say. Either you make him a full-on silent character, or you just make him talk fully. That's why I'm glad a game like Halo 4 moved away from that. So, like I said, there's just not much more that needs to be established within the story. However, I did find that the lore and any new lore that could have been established and showcased here took a back seat. One of the reasons why I find a game like Halo 2 to be as compelling as it is because there was an unwavering focus on establishing the lore of the conflict around you, but the enemies you faced as well. I did sadly find that even somehow when playing this on the MCC version, the cutscenes were not like the ones in Halo 2, which look more modified and up to date, but the endgame cutscenes look significantly worse from a graphic perspective. There are times where I'm straight up looking at characters' faces and they give you this wide-eyed stare because the character model looks so bad, and it sometimes would take me out of the game in the moment. There are many moments in this game of great importance from an emotional perspective, and they just sometimes don't hit with me because I'm looking at these character models and they look absolutely ridiculous. Probably something that they should have looked at a little bit more when making this game. The terminals in the first two games were the devices that you would go to and find in order to give you the backstory and lore behind not just the Halo rings, but also the Covenant and how they came to be. I found myself not only struggling to find the terminals throughout the levels, but they also did change it from being a video-based system and now through text. I much prefer the video version because it showed more through video than what I was reading through the text. It is also very stupid that it kicks you out of the terminal if you don't read it fast enough because of some weird warning system that I have no idea why it's there in the first place. Like with the first two games, as I mentioned, the terminals in this one focus on a different piece of the lore of Halo. This time they focus on the background regarding the 300-year conflict between the Flood and Forerunners and how it all led to the activation of the Halo array. Regardless of how I feel about the lore aspect in this game with how it's treated here in Halo 3, I do acknowledge that it is a big benefit benefit that each of the 3 games focused on 3 separate parts of the lore around the events of the story. One focuses on the rings, one focuses on the Covenant, and then the other one focuses around everything that led to the Halo rings and how they were displayed. It is very intriguing storytelling, and one of the biggest reasons why I love these games. Let's also talk about that gameplay though, because holy shit, this game is just pure ecstasy when it comes to that stuff. I've played almost every Halo game now, minus ODST, and this one might just be one of the most fun that I have played so far. There was a clear and present heavy prioritization on making this game more about the gameplay and the fun aspect of what it is that you do. The vehicle gameplay in particular is something that stood out heavily, especially when it comes to rolling around in a Scorpion tank. That is some of the most fun that I have had playing a video game using vehicles ever, and it's just so fun just going around and shooting everything in my sight with that thing, and it was just such a joy, and it is by far a better comparison when you look at something like Halo CE or Halo 2 with vehicle gameplay, which I feel is way more clunky. A new vehicle that you can access in this game is called the Hornet, and using that thing was like experiencing your wildest dreams come to life in a video game. There is just something insanely satisfying about when you hear the music swell up and you get hyped to get inside one of these vehicles and you cause destruction. Something else that they did add in this game as a new addition are the equipment abilities. It didn't matter if it was the power drain, the grav lift, the bubble shield, or the trip mine ability. This was such a fun new addition to the game, and while I have no idea if this was something that people disliked back in the day, it is something that I personally like because it adds something unique to the gameplay other than just shooting the Covenant and the Flood with whatever gun you use. There is not much new with regards to the weapons themselves. They have a new silenced SMG in the game, but then also the first introduction to, I believe, the Covenant beam rifle sniper, which is, in my personal opinion, a huge favorite of mine. Even though there's not too much in that department in this game, I still find that all weapons are fun to use equally. So in conclusion, with regards to this campaign, I will say that again, this is still a decent campaign, but it is not as good as Halo 2's, or honestly, I would even say as good as a game like Halo Infinite, which I really personally enjoyed. Having now played Halo 4, I do love that the game ends in a way that connects into Halo 4 now that I know where it goes after. It is a much more fun campaign to experience and play through, and definitely one that I would heavily consider going back to play in the future just for that reason alone. While there is a lack of attention to the story and lore expansion, Halo 3's campaign still firmly places itself in a good enough spot for me to give this game a good rating. I would be doing myself a heavy disservice if I didn't mention the multiplayer, of which might just be my favorite part of this entire game. After only playing several of my first ever matches, I could instantly see how much more fun this multiplayer was than the previous 2 games combined. It still kept that great and simple formula with gameplay and maps, but somehow feels like a little bit more upgraded to give it a great and repetitive feeling. Everything just pops out more on screen with the colors, the map designs, the weapons and equipment abilities, and nothing about it ever gets tiring, old, or boring. On MCC, it also feels very good, and I'd easily play this multiplayer over the other older games any day of the week. While Halo 5 is my personal favorite overall multiplayer in the franchise, Halo 3 easily takes the cake for my favorite of the older games. If I had been someone of the proper age to have played this game back in 2007 and on, I know for a fact that I would have been living the best life and not caring about anything else. If it was, say, a school day, for example, or in this case for me now at my age working an actual job, it would be all I'd think about to go into right after that day was over. And when your game is giving you that feeling, then you know you are doing something right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of my video game analysis for Halo 3, a game of which I still believe, as the thumbnail says, is just fun as fuck to play. I very much look forward to concluding my playthrough of the older games for a first time run with Halo 3 ODST next, a game that some have considered one of Halo's most underrated titles. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe so that you are ready for when that video does come, and turn on that notification bell to be notified when it does release. Let's also see if we can hit a goal of 100 likes on this video. I hope everyone here watching has a great rest of the day, and I will see you all soon. This is Orion, signing out.